Okay, we're back. You can see that our dough has risen very well. And so what we're going to do now is deflate the dough. Put a little bit of flour on this, not too much. And this is a dough scraper, which comes in handy for this sort of situation. This has been taken about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes to rise. And I've also done another one, so I'm doing 2 batches at a time. Okay. So we'll just degas this a little bit. As I told you before, it's always better to weigh your dough. And we are going to make buns that are of equal size, so we need to know how much dough we have in here. So we're going to, let me put that on there. So it's zeroed out, and we're going to put our dough in here. And it's 1,433 grams. Divide that by 10, and each of our buns should be 143.3 grams. We're not going to get that specific. As long as it's 143 to 144, we're fine. And so we just cut off a piece, and we see how much that is. Let me zero that out again. Oh, and I've put parchment paper on top of this because this gets really sticky and messy, and I don't really like to gum up my scale. So a little piece of parchment paper on top of that is very handy. This is 148. So I'm going to take a little bit off. So that's 143. So we take it and we pull it all towards the middle. And it's kind of sticky, but don't worry about that. Just make sure you started with clean hands. And then, see, that gives us a nice smooth surface on top. And then we'll roll it around on that to give us a nicer surface on the bottom. And then I'm just going to flatten it out so that it fits a 4-inch springform pan. And I have oiled these. I've oiled these with a little earth balance. If you would prefer not to have any oil on your food, you can dust this with a little flour. And it will keep it from sticking, and most of the oil is absorbed by the flour, and so you won't actually be eating it, or very little of it, and that's what that should look like. Okay, so I'll make another one, and I'll fill these, and I'll do my other dough, and then I'll come back and show you how to cook them. Okay, so I'm back, and I have filled 2 trays with 2 different batches of this brioche dough. And so now I've just completed this, and we're going to take some of this sugar water, and it's a little cloudy now because we've used it on the other batch already. While I was doing this, my husband was kind enough to complete the other batch for me. Okay, so we are going to coat this with a thin layer of this sugar water, and the reason we're doing that is it helps prevent a skin from forming on top of the dough. You don't want a hard skin to form. And when we're finished with this, we're going to continue to keep this. We're not going to throw it out because we're going to do it to them again, just before we put it in the oven. And that will give us a wonderful golden brown crust. These springform pans are very nice. They're also very good for making plant-based cheeses. I do a camembert cheese using these pans that is just out of this world. Okay, all of them are covered. And so now we're going to take them and we're going to put a clean cloth over them and let them rise till, I like for them to rise just below the rim of this pan, because they'll continue to rise a little once they're in the oven. And while these are resting, I'm going to preheat the oven to 355 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm going to put 2 racks on in the oven. One is the second rack from the bottom and the other is the second from the top. Okay, I will see you in 30 minutes or so, maybe an hour, when these rise, after these have risen. Okay, I'm back and this has risen and it's time to get these ready to put into the oven. So we are going to take some of the sugar water and put a you have to be very careful with this. Do not dig into this because you'll deflate it and that will defeat all of this lovely time we've given this to rise. And you can do this 1 or 2 at a time, but don't do more than 2 at a time because this will dry up and then the sesame seeds won't stick to it. We are going to decorate these or garnish them with a little bit of organic rolled oats, and you can put sunflower seeds, you can put sesame seeds. I use white sesame seeds, and these are roasted sesame seeds, and organic rolled oats. And sometimes I also add black sesame seeds. You can see one in there that I had in that jar before, in that plastic container. You don't want to put too much on this because you don't want it rolling down the sides and causing you to have trouble taking this out of the springform pans later on. So just put just enough to cover the tops, enough of the sugar water. Now I am sure that because I have this thing that I bought these sesame seeds from this company in the past. But normally what I do is I find them, I roast them, and I just use this container because it's very handy. Or you can buy them roasted, whatever makes you happy. I like to do everything myself. Okay, there we have it. Now let's get these into the oven. We'll cook them for 13 to 15 minutes. I usually cook them for 7 or 8 minutes on one side, and then turn them around and just turn them around this way and cook them for another 7 or 8 minutes, 6 or 7 or 8 minutes. Okay, I'm going to move to the oven now and we'll show you what we're doing. Okay, so that's what we want. Okay, so I'm going to put these in on the top shelf. This is the second, in my oven, it's the second shelf from the top, and then we'll put this to the second shelf from the bottom, or the fourth shelf from the top. And we'll set the timer on 7 minutes, and then we'll turn them. Okay, it's been 7 minutes. I'm going to pull this out and turn it around. Same here. And then we'll put it on another 7 minutes. Okay, it's been 14 minutes now. And then take a look at them. I would like this one to be a little bit browner than it is, but I'm going to take it out and get another mat on. I'm going to take this out and move the other one to the top shelf. Let me see how this one looks. Yeah, I want them a little bit browner than this, so I'm going to turn them around and switch shelves. Oh, I forgot to put the sesames on that one. Huh. Oh well. And then I'm going to switch shelves, and I'm going to put them on for another minute or two. I'm going to put the timer on for 2 minutes. So we've used a total of, we've baked these a total of 16 minutes. And they're nice and golden brown. I actually like that one that just has the oats on it. There's two. I just forgot to put them on there. And if you want them a little browner, it's okay. You can put them in there for a couple of minutes longer. But I think this is perfect. And now I'm going to move these to my granite countertop to cool. Okay, as you see, we have finished baking them. They're a beautiful golden brown color. It is tempting at this point, because they smell fantastic, to break into them and eat one right away, but I wouldn't advise doing that. Bread continues to cook as it's cooling off, and you want to give it that opportunity to be fully cooked on the inside. And so we're going to let it cool 5 to 10 minutes, just long enough so that we can handle them. We don't want it to cool entirely inside the springform pans, because then it will develop a moisture on the bottom, and we don't want that. So in 5 to 10 minutes, we're going to come back, release it from the springforms, and put them on a cooling rack. And then we'll let them finish cooling, and then you can enjoy them. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes, and this is not really cool, but it's cool enough to handle. And so I'm going to transfer these to a cooling rack. Okay, so I'm working on my second pan. Ooh, this one's a little hot. I like to break several open at one time and let it cool, let it release. Okay, so these are finished. We have 20 avocado brioche. They're beautiful. A couple of little renegades over here that decided to be a little different. And to eat these, just cut them down the side, cut them through the middle, and you can toast them or you can eat them the way they are. I prefer them toasted myself. And you can freeze them in gallon bags. I think I get 8 in each gallon bag. And then you have them whenever you want them. Just pull them out of the freezer. You can let them thaw naturally, or you can zap them in the microwave for 30 seconds to a minute, and then cut them in half and toast them. And they are really fantastic for all kinds of wonderful veggie sandwiches. So be sure to check us out at timeforchangekitchen.com, where we have more videos and more recipes.